Hi, my name is Cody Terrio. I'm calling in from Maine, and I work for the National Education Opportunity Network as a senior manager of data and research. I have worked at Neon, that's what we call our organization, for about 4 years, and I've worked in data science and research for about 6 years. Before I joined Neon, I worked in higher education. So I worked for a TRIO student support services program for a while. And I also worked for a federal grant program that enabled me to work with data to help a college support students in persisting and graduating in college. I do have a master's degree. Mine's in educational psychology, and I have a data science certificate. What education you need for a career like mine really depends on what industry you're working in and what skills are needed for that particular job. I've done certification programs such as ones available through DataCamp, ones available through Google. I haven't found them to be as influential to my career as having the practical experience in my career, as well as the degrees required for the job. I've also found it to be more important to be able to apply my skills to a problem that my employer is experiencing and helping them to work through it, than I have having any particular sort of technical skills. But again, this really depends on what industry you enter, what job you have. But for me, that's where I have found the most impact. Another piece that's been really important is to be able to explain what you find in your data work, and the recommendations that you have for folks to take very clearly to people who don't work in data and research. They're often looking to you to support them with the business decisions that they need to make. Whether that be my role in higher ed or with Neon, that has been really important. For me, every day is different. So typically I'll have a mix of meetings. So for example, check-ins with my manager, meetings with the whole organization, project meetings, and I'll also have independent work to do. So working on projects that I have on my plate or ones that others have asked me to support with, as well as handling requests for data from my coworkers. So we have a newer database system and being able to help them very quickly grab the data that they need for the work that they're doing is a big part of my role. I do collaborate with other people often, and I do that for many reasons. One, because I want to help them. I really enjoy working with my coworkers and supporting them with what they need. But also, I find it really important to understand where they're coming from, what challenges they're facing, how I can help support them in overcoming them, as well as just knowing what else is going on in the organization. So I do have some standing meetings where I learn that, but oftentimes it's through conversations with coworkers that I can really get a pulse on what's going on and know how I can best support in my role. A lot of the work that we do is in Google Suite, so things like Google Docs, Google Drive, etc. That really helps us to collaborate, especially because we are a remote first organization. And then we use Salesforce as our newer database system. I work remotely. So I do have a couple of in-person meetings a year that I go to with my coworkers, but for the most part, we are calling in all from all across the country. I'm the only one from Maine, for example, but I work with folks from California and Texas and New York and Georgia, and it's great to be able to work with people from across the country towards a common mission. Everyone I work with is super great. Everyone really cares about what we're trying to do, which in my organization, what we do is we bring college courses into high school classrooms at schools that may not always have the opportunity to offer college courses. And we really want to make sure that students, regardless of where they live, have the opportunity to learn from their experience in courses, and if they want to be able to go to college, persist, and graduate. And so because we all have that kind of shared sense of responsibility towards this mission, it is a very collaborative role. It's definitely not a job where I could sit behind a spreadsheet and send a pretty report and make an impact. It really is work that we do together. And we are kind of all committed to that and also responsibility to each other, making sure that we are meeting our deadlines, that we are effectively communicating with each other. That all is important to the role that I have. The moments that make me most proud are ones where I've been able to make a difference, especially for our scholars, but oftentimes it's through making a difference for my colleagues. So, for example, making data more accessible to them so that way they can quickly work with it and complete their projects. But also oftentimes when just I can make things easier, right? Like if there's something that is simple for me to do because of the skills that I bring to the role, and if I can be helpful in that way, I love being able to jump in and do that. It saves everyone time and it helps us really focus on why we're there, which is to help the scholars succeed in their courses and beyond. I would say in terms of advice, no two data jobs are the same. So I've worked in ones that are focused in education and for organizations that are focused on delivering services directly to students. So because I'm often one of the only data people working on projects, it requires a different set of roles than if you're on a team of analysts in, say, a business or in other industries. So my job happens to be less technical in nature. So I'm not often in coding software, for example, which is not the case for a lot of data jobs. But at the same time, I am often learning new skills, learning new software quickly because I want to make sure that I am being as impactful as possible. So that's a bit about the role that I have at the National Education Opportunity Network and what it's like to work in data and research.